Welcome, everyone. It is September 26th, 2024, and this is Finding Truth Everywhere. And our conversation today is going to come is going to arise from the Helen Hamilton set song, and as is a habit here that I enjoy. And I love the fact that one of the things Helen stated was that the things you enjoy, you're going to find you don't have to let go of, right? She did state that. It's not like in this surrendering process, which she also said you really don't have any control over. It's happening. One of the things I enjoy is music. And so we're going to begin with a song. And I also have to put the recording on pause since we upload these to YouTube. So I'm going to tell you for the recording, the name of the song is Wake Up. And it's new. And for those who know Diane Scott, she discovered the song. She's fallen in love with Bird Talker. Bird Talker is, the band that plays the song that we play often, well, every Tuesday in the 12-stepping meeting, one. This is an extraordinary song. It's an extraordinary video, and it seems to relate like it was written for this conversation, which is pretty cool. Izzy.
Are you saying these meetings go on YouTube?
I don't upload the videos, but I do upload the audio for this meeting and the Training Wheels meeting and the where the rubber meets the road. Yeah, so that people can listen to the replays. Audio only, though, not video. But yes. The other two meetings, the coffee meeting and the 12-stepping meeting, we never record. All right, let me put this on pause. Back. It's a pretty cool song, yeah?
Yeah, and I love the way the footage looks vintage. It reminds me of in the 60s and 70s being a little kid. It's really effective.
All right, so conversation. Please raise your hand or unmute or do whatever at any given time. I don't have a specific sometimes there's certain things I really feel pushed to say. This one's a little bit different. The first thing I want to say, what did she write? What she said very clearly, there is no way to stop the process. You can only delay it through self-rejection. Being a good student of A Course in Miracles, anybody want to know what I heard? This is a course in mind training. It is a required course. Only the time that you choose to take it is up to you. I just got chills. There's something so affirming in how that came together for me, right? We are learning who we are. We are rising, and we don't know exactly what we're doing, because it's the other thing that she said very clearly. Just the fact that we're all here, that we are devoted enough to show up in these meetings, to do our practices the best we know how to do in any given moment, to keep asking the questions, etc., etc. We might as well step back and relax and know that something is happening, that it's working, that our lives are that our blocks to the truth of who we are dissolving, And it makes sense that we don't understand, because the part of the mind that keeps trying to understand will never understand. So clearly, she said, don't judge progress. Judging progress, or invite yourself to stop judging the progress. She says, if you keep judging progress and you keep insisting that you're not there yet, or other people are doing better than you are, and no matter what's happening, you're never going to get it. She was like, well, that's the experience that is being created in you and through you and reflected back to you. She also, along the same lines, since everything's being merged here, she stated that your life right now, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, or enjoyable it may be, is tailor-made for your awakening, I think is the word she used. I agree with Amy. I think I heard Amy say, I needed a different word from awakening or in life. I don't like either of those words either, by the way. They don't fit. I don't know what's happening here. I kind of like this idea that we're removing the blocks to love's presence. Again, I really love the course's languaging. To me, that's very different than awakening, right? Letting go of the blocks feels different to me than waking up. Maybe the word is understanding. Maybe this morning, in my diet, the way it was coming up in my conversation again with Diane, and someday Diane will retire again and show up in these meetings. Who knows? I said to her, it feels like, because I was in this space of the thinking mind wanted to say, I don't understand, and that was the big part of it, but it wasn't true. It was more like if I'm hanging out outside and it's a foggy morning, so there's a fog in the space. There's a knowing that the fog is temporary and the space is eternal. And even if I can't see in front of me, I still know the space. It felt more like that. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody else, but whatever it is we're doing, for me right now, it feels more like we're clearing some fog. And sometimes the fog feels really thick. Sometimes there's other stuff in it, but it's not, it's just, Helen made it very clear it's happening. And we're doing the best we can. And it's really useful to accept that we're doing the best we can, because we could delay the process by judging how well we're doing. Kind of cyclic, but it was extraordinarily meaningful for me. Identify with love and find oneself. How beautiful, Kendall. Dissolving the ego. Thank you, William. Do you like how often she pointed to the fact that there's only one sentient being and you're it? Did you catch that? I had to listen a couple of times. This thinking mind like to push that out. Hey, Melanie.
Hey, great. So grateful to be with everyone today. We've had a lot of rain. We've been in a severe drought, and now we're getting like a week of rain. I don't know if Cindy, if you're, and I guess Ron, you probably are too. But we got 4 inches last night, so anyway, it's so nice to have all this light coming from everybody here. So, and I just love Helen Hamilton you can just feel her love. I mean, she has such a warmth to her. Even she's always felt really enjoyed. I went ahead and listened to some more of her satsangs. I was so grateful to hear this one. And I went out and I don't know if any of you have read her books, but the one called Dissolving the Ego, both of them are really excellent. Dissolving the Ego. And then I got this one called Reality Check. And this is like 40 pages, but it's really speaking to the absolute. And it's one of the few books I've ever found. It's only 40 pages, but she really she really speaks from that highest level. And it's some of it you can't, it takes you a couple of readings to really, for example, at the very end, she talks about 4 steps. And it like the first one is believing I am this body. The second one is believing I am not this body. The third one is I am the formless self and all that arises out of it. And that kind of seems where we are now. But then she goes on for the last step, which of self-realization is when we simply do not know what we are. I kind of really like that because it takes you then, because when you believe, it's still, there's still separation. When I am the formless self and all that arises out of it, there's still almost there's still, I don't know, there's someone there in a sense. And then, but then she takes you to, I don't know. We simply do not know what we are. But anyway, if anybody wants to tackle it, it's only 40 pages, but it's pretty amazing.
Put it down on my list.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I'll have it on my iPad for the plane ride next week.
Oh, great. Well, you guys are so receptive. Thank you. I just, meant a lot to me.
Can you put the information in the chat?
Yeah, I'll put,
Well, it looks like
You got
Rana already did.
thanks, Rana. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I'm ordering it right now. It's only $13 for a paperback.
Yeah, it's very short, but it's pretty. And some of the suggestions she makes are, I don't know if I can go there, but she's really speaking at quite a different level. It's kind of like Regina's. She talks about the different principles, but I think she's trying to speak from the first principle. Thanks.
Thank you. I will order it at the end of the meeting. I will have access. I'm not buying, I'm going to be away for a month. So
Oh,
I'm in love with, I'll be here, hopefully. My intention is to be here. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh,
You can
good.
take the internet with you almost everywhere,
Well,
but
and
I
let
will
me know
not
what
be
you
sitting
think.
in this chair. What?
Let me know what any feedback, because if I'm just the
Oh.
only one, or if anybody else, it speaks to anybody else, that would be nice.
Yeah. So, she did point to, and it feels like it's what you're talking about, Melanie. She pointed pretty closely to the end. Yeah, there's this acceptance that there's only one sentient being here, and we're an expression of that. Yeah. So this, again, the way it's landing here is so much of what we're doing is letting go of the belief that we're separate. And a couple of times I've mentioned it. There was this quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj where he said, there's nothing wrong with duality as long as there's no conflict. And it's that one line is still working on me. But essentially it again and again, it allows me to recognize that duality and separation are not the same things. And so two can communicate like I'm communicating with you and we're not separate. Like 2 fingers. I keep looking at, there are 2 fingers here and they're not separate. Rana. And then Amy.
Just a quick question then. Like, even though I seem to be seeing form, it's not necessarily separate anymore.
That's sort of the feeling that's being,
Oh,
it's like, and the way it's landing here for me is duality allows me to dance with another. And I love dancing with another. I love the feeling of a hug. I love holding hands. I love the exchange of information. And I'm getting chills. This was a huge, huge thing. Like dropping into this was huge for me. I don't have to let go of my human experience to know the truth of who I am, is the way this is feeling. Like I can dance without being attached to the idea that I'm dancing with someone who is not me. I can dance with me in the same way that these two fingers are hanging out with each other. And it's still unfolding, but just the permission that that one quote is given for me to have a different kind of experience has been, I don't know, I'm enjoying it. Amy.
I love this video and I've been introduced to Helen Hamilton before, but it's almost like I have this appreciation for her in a new way. What I liked about her is that she's just so normal. She's not some kind of nuclear physicist that or super mathematician or some kind of scientist, she's just
She's a mom.
She's a mom. And she says, just relax and just relax and sit with yourself. And relax into yourself. I like that so much because Michelle was saying something the other day. I wish she was here. She was saying yesterday that I don't know if I'm awake. I don't know what it feels like to be awake. Remember her saying that, those of you who were there? And it's almost like she was reaching for something but couldn't quite put her hands on it. And what Helen says is, you're always yourself. You're always yourself. And it's what Rupert says too. It's so intimate that we miss it. It's just completely right there. And so, yeah, I just really like that. And her, maybe this is my, but she says, just get quiet and sense what you are. Just get quiet and sense what you are. I love that. And she said, it's not a process of awakening, it's a process of destroying what you're not.
That also sounds a little bit like A Course in Miracles,
does.
or everything like A Course in Miracles.
A lot. Yeah, she said a lot of things. And the other thing she said is, you're not doing anything wrong. Thank you so much. You're not doing anything wrong. Wow, how much we all need to hear that. And then she said it's a process. We stop and we start, but and also she said we make progress even when we don't know it. How beautiful is that? Gosh, we make progress even when we don't know it. Beautiful, beautiful. And then she said, most awakened beings are not teachers.
Teaching is a special skill, is a specific skill.
It's a specific skill. But so if you're not teaching, it doesn't mean that you're not awake. And then she said, let's not listen to the mind when it says, I'm failing. She asks, how would it know? Oh, God, so good. And then every single awakened being has followed the same path as you. Every single one has followed the same path. Oh, boy. And then the last thing was dare to take a stand as the infinite self.
And she said that's when her life really started falling apart. Such a
Well, but yeah.
but then it right its side up again. But the one thing, Amy, that you said, and I've known Helen for years too. The thing, this is a new satsang. It's only a couple weeks old, right? And she clearly stated that when she started teaching, she wasn't who she is now.
Yeah.
And I think we all have hung around with teachers that seem to have stopped in their development because they thought they arrived, and then they almost become a little bit more solid. Helen clearly stated it, it was recently that she fell apart, and sobbed like there was no tomorrow, and knew that it was just another layer. So hanging out with her teachings from 2, 3 years ago is not like hanging out with her today. And it's not just because I've changed, it's also because she's deepening.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate her, and her response to that man who was, oh, I forget what he said, but he was sort of talking about the dryness as well with the non-dual teachers, and her response to him was, yeah, just really, she's got a humility that I really like, and an accessibility that I really appreciate. So, great one. Thank you.
It's an inward revolution. Thank you, Kendall. Barbie.
And I like what Amy said yesterday and even today. It's like you can't screw up no matter what you do. It's your path. It was predetermined. And I like, oh, well, I screwed up. Oh, well, I did this wrong. Oh, well, that's my new phrase every time I do it. But I did love this more than any other one I think I heard. That's all.
Thank you. Um, so, Course in Miracles is a course in discovering who you are through relationship, right? It's a course about relationships. I was very moved by this. I think the woman's name was Gracie. In my head, it's Gracie anyway. And Gracie, and I'd love for this conversation. We could talk about this as long as we want. It's still sitting with me, you know, when Gracie was talking about how her relationships are falling apart, right? And they're so uncomfortable. And why aren't we both? Why can't we both see things the same way or whatever? I've really been sitting with this idea that the people in our lives, I think what Helen said, and I'd love for people to correct me or let me know what they heard. What I heard her say is, what is it that you need the other person to give you that you don't believe you already have?
Yeah, it got me. She said, what do you lack? What do you need that relationship for? That gets all over me.
I've been sitting, you know, Emma's car has been stolen again, and it's you know, my life has been tailor-made so that I get to see what it is I haven't been seeing, right? So it's subtler now. I haven't spoken to Emma since she picked up my car the other night, right? I'm assuming she's taking care of things, but I'm sitting here and I'm allowing, you know, the ripples of desiring the people I care about to not be attacked, to not be challenged, to whatever. And it's subtle. Like it's not huge. I'm not losing sleep over it, but there's a discomfort here. This sense that I'm living in an unsafe world where we have to protect ourselves subtly, right? I don't lock my door, but you know, the feeling of it. So there's this sense that the world is real, and it's being projected out through these experiences that others are having that seem to be affecting me. Amy.
Yeah, what I think part of removing the blocks to love's awareness for me is it's now in this phase where I am okay with feeling the discomfort, or even more than discomfort, and being okay with that's how it feels, because that's what this experience of being in form, in apparent form, that's so convincing is all about. And I loved it that she said, you know, the enlightened people, it's not like everything always goes right for them. You know, or like Ramana says, in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. Well, that's kind of a high standard, isn't it? It makes me feel when I read stuff like that, well, I'll never get there. But she said, you know, things go wrong. It's just that an enlightened person just says, oh, well, I really would like it if that didn't happen. But it happened. And then you just accept it and you know, but oh, well, it happened. And there's something so refreshing about the way she said that. Oh, well, that's kind of, that's what I said to myself last night, driving my husband to the emergency room. And while part of me was like, why do you have to move so fast all the time? That's why you fell. Like, I know why you fell. I don't know why he fell. But in my mind, it was, you always move so fast. You did this to yourself, you know, and full of absolutely angry with him for doing that because he wasn't watching what he was doing. And he does stuff like this a lot, doesn't watch what he's doing. You know, it's like, oh, well, okay, watch all of that come up and go ahead and give it up, because that's a block to love's awareness. And if I don't let it come up and take a look at it, then I'll never remove it. So, oh, well, thank you very much.
So Rana, I know you have your hand up. William just unmuted. Should we yeah, William.
Well, it just, a couple of thoughts just occurred to me. I love what I heard Regis say yesterday, and it reminds me of Byron Katie and whatever. What you perceive, what you think, what you do is really none of my business. I'm not responsible for how you perceive and do and so forth, but I can love you. Now, I don't rarely do that, but I love that as I guess, intention. I'll just point me in that direction. And I love that. So it's more and more, I noticed yesterday with a buddy having coffee chat, and I began listening to him almost like two different modes. One is the words that we shared in the stories and our different stories about each other's stories. And then the other is I'm just kind of floating in this space, watching both of us. It's harder for me to do that when I'm caught up, but more and more, it just seems like reminding myself, what you perceive of me is none of my business. I love it, I can hear it, and vice versa. So anyway, I love it when I stop talking and it's more thoughts. So to me, it's whatever it is, dissolving, removing, disappearing. It seems like more and more that's happening. I don't know. And then I come back to, I don't know. And I think John said, of course, the message of number 25. I don't know what anything means. It's okay. I'll stick with that. That feels pretty solid.
I'm definitely never upset for the reason I think.
And that one too. Oh, could I add what is coming to me? I'm never okay for the reason I think either.
You know, it's that word think. So it's the same in all of those statements. That word thing. Thank you for being here, William.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this space. I tell you, all of you, I didn't know about this until lately.
Well, this space just opened. We're
Well,
only in like week 3, I think. Yeah.
better
So
late than never.
what we're creating, it's what is happening now. Yeah. All right, Ron.
Thanks. I noticed that I could very much relate to the energy of the questioner. It seemed very needy to me, what she was trying to get out of the relationship. And I could remember, things like, let's have a talk. Tell me what you're thinking, things that I would say to my partner. And just to see it with different eyes today, how much that puts someone on the spot, first of all, and puts them on the defense. 9 times out of 10, when I ask my husband that question, he's like, I'm not thinking anything, but there's a perception. I also noticed that energy of the questioner feeling like she needed something from this other individual created a real resistance. I didn't want to listen to it anymore. There was this dismissive attitude that came up too. And I think that's rooted in just the idea that I can be guilty for having acted that way in the past. Who was it that acted that way anyway? But it's also to turn it around. So grateful that that need to feel complete, depending on a human being for those things is definitely, I won't say gone, but far less important. The pull is not as strong. It's noticed when it happens. Like a conversation like this is really good for me to check in, do I still take Dave's temperature and then figure out what my day's going to be like? Those kind of little subtle things, and to me, that is being aware, that is being awake, and then to be, have the honesty to be like, yeah, sometimes I'm needy too. That behavior still exhibits itself. But I am innocent. When that behavior exhibits itself, as was said earlier, it's getting reflected back to me. I'm seeing experience all over that says, you need to be completed. You don't have enough, but the real pointing of the Helen video overall for me was the idea to trust this is working, to not allow judgment. Again, isn't that the beast, right? It's the judgment of myself and others, to just trust that showing up daily, like it seems to be happening, is enough. Because even with that questioner, the male questioner, what I heard him say is, what are the steps? What were your steps? And I'm grateful to understand now that this one's process may not look like another's. but I feel the results of the process. I feel the results of my car being broken down today and not really caring when one way or the other when it gets towed to the repair shop. It's like no big deal. That's different. So thank you. I enjoyed Helen so much. I kind of have a crush on her. She's just so great.
Well, it was through your asking that we brought Helen into this conversation. So there's that. Hey, Chuck. Very cool that you're here.
Yes, I'm grateful, and that's why I'm speaking. I'm just out of gratitude of being able to be here. And I think when Amy started and she started listing those things, it was like, wow, all I have to do is say ditto. She hit so many of the things that were registering identical with what I was when I was listening to the one other thing that did almost kind of like where Rhonda was coming from me was the struggle that she acknowledged in her journey there, and how it's like the old saying, they fall off the horse, you just get back on the horse, you just keep getting up again and getting up again. And that really landed with me pretty heavy too. Love being here. Thank you for having me. Good seeing you all. And thank you for your shares.
Good seeing you. Yeah, in the Coffee with meeting, and I'm not going to mention names because we don't record that meeting, but there was a conversation about not getting there and feeling like we weren't, succeeding. And I was so happy that we were able to point directly to this audio, because over and over again, she said, just so really slow your progress. If there's anything out there that's going to slow your progress, it's continually deciding that you're doing it wrong. Your self-judgment, your sense of self-rejection, choosing to stand. Well, it was recently, Amy, you and I, we both declared our innocence, right? And declared each other's, and I declare all of ours, we are innocent. And in many ways, and I got chills, that's the same as stating what I am is what created me. So there's no ego in just deciding to state, well, I am part of that one sentient being, that divine nature. That's what I am. It was interesting with Rana's share. One of the things that I've been sinking into and watching very specifically in one-on-one conversations, whether or not they're with a seemingly live other, or I don't know about you, I've noticed that I have a lot of conversations with others in my head. Do you have a lot of conversations with others in your head? I've recognized the moment I've accepted that I'm never right about what another is thinking. Like, I've proven it to myself that whenever I've had the thinking mind has gone out of its way to try to figure out why another person's upset or what they're thinking or how they'll respond when I do X, Y, and Z. I have like, sometimes grossly, Amy sent me an email a couple of days ago, and the whole title just said an open door. And my thinking mind said, she doesn't like me anymore. She's calling to tell me this isn't working. She's leaving. She doesn't want to, like, literally, it was cool. But that's the way the mind works, right? There's a piece, at least in this system, that is waiting for the other shoe to drop, is waiting for as soon as I rest back and saying, this person and I, we're going to do this together, we feel really good. There's something here that says they're about, the other shoe's going to drop. The rug is going to be pulled. I'm going to find out that I've been spoofed. Right? And it was kind of cool because I didn't even wait. I just called her. So the mind just told me you hated me. Is it true? But the thing is, so I've proven that I can't count on the thinking mind to give me accurate information. That's what it is, right? So if I can't count on the thinking mind to give me accurate information, I've been watching how uncomfortable I'm getting in conversations with another when I recognize as long as that separation exists, we don't know who we are. Like we can't know who another separate being is. We can only know what the thinking mind tells us. And I've already proven that the thinking mind is a distortion of the truth. So it's a really weird feeling. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know anything. And there's something that really doesn't like not knowing. I want to know how to make this world safe. While I'm waiting for the next share, I added to our list of YouTube videos yesterday. And it was another, not exactly a Joel Goldsmith moment, because this gentleman is part of my past. But for the last X number, probably a week or so, the name Guy Finley. Does anyone here know who Guy Finley is? Guy Finley it was a part. He's a spiritual teacher, and he lives out in Oregon. And back in the day where I was managing I used to have a mailing list of like 200,000 people, and we had Evolution Easing and all sorts of things. But he used to write. We used to publish some of his articles, and I'm looking forward to listening to him again. And I'm actually really excited that he's still alive and that this was a new teaching from him, because I think part of me didn't think he'd still be alive. But anyway, his name was showing up in my space the way Joel Goldsmith did for a while, only I didn't know Joel Goldsmith at all in this lifetime until he showed up. But the reason why it's coming up now is back in the day where I was publishing articles in this Evolution Easing by Guy, I didn't really know him. I knew his manager, the man that was getting him online. We published this article where Guy was asking people to take another look at their pain, to be still and to rest around pain. Pain is not what you think it is, right? It was a beautiful article, only the community blew up, completely blew up. Like they got really angry. They're like, you are someone who doesn't know pain. How could you tell me to stand still on my pain? My pain is real. You've never experienced pain. And they were going on and on and on like that. It was a huge thing, right? And so I went back to my contact, and I said, would Guy respond to this? Or could Guy respond to this? And that's the first time any of us in the online community knew that this man, I can't remember the specifics, but like half of his body was like his arm was paralyzed. I think he lost a leg to cancer. There was a whole bunch of real intense physical stuff that occurred in his life that was just literally not part of his story. He just never talked about it because it wasn't important until he sat and said, now wait a minute. It all depends on what perspective you're looking at this moment. And then somehow all the arguments died down. But I've been sitting with that on some way. I don't, do we have to awaken through suffering? I guess is the question that's coming up from it. What if somebody just woke up awake? Are we going to dish them because they didn't suffer as a human being? I don't know. It's just part of what's rattling around here. but it's also my way of saying I'm really excited that Guy Finley's name showed up in my space, and we'll be looking at him in about 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it is. I think Roger Costello is next week, and then there's um, Richard's friend, Irish course student, and then I think it might be him. Amy, did I press something?
A little bit. I think you asked the question, do we need suffering to awaken? And the answer is no, we're all already awake. Right? We are already awake. We are what we are, the one awakened, never having gone to sleep. However, in this apparent reality, I think it might be difficult, more difficult, for many people to believe a teacher that's never suffered. Because most of us do suffer, and or at least we experience the feeling or the perception of suffering, of resisting, of pain in the body. And that's kind of goes back to something I was trying to express earlier on, which is that is part of the experience here. It appears to be part of the experience here. It's a way that we, who in our oneness and our divine love, never experience, but have decided, well, this would be an interesting thing to experience. How far away from myself can I get and still find my way back? You know, can I throw the ball as far from center field as possible and then go rummage around in the weeds and see if I can find it and bring it back to home base? You know, and that's experienced as suffering here. Is it suffering? No, no, it's actually a really fun thing. But in the body, in this apparent reality, it feels like suffering because we don't know what we are. Right? Right? We have forgotten what we are. So
As I'm listening to you, it comes back full circle to how Helen started the satsang. Everything she was sharing was triggered by someone saying, I wish that I was more like you.
yes. Good. Yeah, that's right.
At the same time, though, so this is where it gets very interesting. And right now, I'm not attempting to teach, I'm exploring my own stuff, right? Um, as a teacher, as someone who shows up in these spaces and teaches as I do, how important is it for me to carry around my story of my past? Like, is it important for the people I'm sitting in a room with to know that 20 years ago I had such severe panic disorder, I thought I was dying pretty much every day?
No, it's not important for anybody to know that. It's important for you to know that experience and be able to lead others through the weeds based on your experience. That's the point of it. I have told my sister who has serious depression, someday you're going to be a phenomenal teacher because you have been willing to go to the bottom of the well and then find your way back. That's a really ugly thing for a lot of us to who don't really get it to watch from the outside. Another person's deep, deep suffering and a parent making mistakes over and over and over again. And what they're doing, though, is giving themselves the experience of coming out of the weeds so that when they do come out of it, they're going to be able to go deep in and lead other people out. Because that appears to be the way we learn in this apparent reality. You know, But does that mean that you have to remember all your suffering in order to do that? Or to let us know that you've suffered? I don't think so. Does that make sense? Or am I?
No, no, no. I don't have I don't have an answer. This is part of the reason that this is an open door is that we're all brilliant and we're all shining a light for all of us. It's what came up when I had that memory of Guy Finley and how he was showing up very clear at the time. People loved his teachings, but they were ready to drop him like a hot potato until he exposed his own human frailty. And I don't have a right, wrong, and perhaps it's why don't you hang out in the moment and do what guidance, the direction that guidance will have you move in the moment. It's just a memory that I've never forgotten.
I see what you're saying, and it does make the teacher seem more human. I see what you're saying. Yeah, thank you for that. I do.
I don't know if it applies or right, wrong, or neither way, but coming from a 12-step program where we share in our whole thing is how our experience, no matter how far down the scale we've gone, we see how our experience can benefit others is a key part there, but I don't know how that applies. And I'm putting a note in here. I'm going to bail out shortly to join a John Mundy class.
This is over in 4 minutes, Chuck. So much love that you're here. Yeah. And I saw William was about to say something, so the floor is yours, sir.
What I see is that something inside is more willing to listen to certain people. And when they speak of their journey of suffering or loss or transformation, I'm more willing to listen. So what is that in me that's willing to listen? And I don't know quite, but I know it's something in me shifts. And just hearing you talk about Guy Finley, seeing at the club this weekend a tournament of wheelchair tennis players and what some of them have gone through, and they're such an inspiration. Well, why do I need an inspiration? So it's something in me that's willing to listen or not listen. So I'm avoiding what is it. And so I'm intrigued. I want to listen to the silence surrounding that. It just more and more, it's all taking place inside. And that's what I project.
Thank you, William. And you helped me touch part of what's going on here with this conversation is there is a fear of being too happy. There's a fear that if I fully am what God created and I am that happy, I will no longer be able to connect with my friends. You see it?
So could I share something that I came across? All of you know Sadhguru, do you? Well, he's a mystic, anyway, magical person, has millions and millions of followers. And his comment yesterday, the need for intoxication is rising because many are no longer struggling for survival. When people do not find passionate involvement in life, the need for pleasure and intoxication naturally increases. He goes on to say, the most fantastic intoxicant you can experience is already within you. By tapping into the body's innate chemistry, it is possible to generate an internal sense of joy, vitality, and awareness without external substances. And he finishes with, I am always intoxicated. No drink, no substance. There is a way to create blissfulness from within. He walks his talk. I don't know. I know a lot about his personal life, but the main thing is that he just emanates presence all the time I've ever witnessed him on TV. It's powerful. So what is it that makes me open to listening to him? I guess there's no fear, just being present.
And with that, I'm going to stop the recording. There's nothing really more to say. Thank you. Here we go.